This evening, let's explore ego, liberation, and meditation. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi. This is the Lama you are looking for. This evening we could chant and meditate and enjoy a lesson or two, but first, oops, wrong button. If you love Star Wars and you wish to meditate as transformatively as Yoda learned to do on Dagobah under the guidance of Qui-Gon Jinn, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. Once again, this evening we could explore ego, liberation, and meditation, that you too could meditate like a Jedi. If at any point during this evening's live stream you have a question, do not be shy. Simply type your question in great detail in the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen. If you're watching a replay, simply type your question in the chat window below the video. If you're watching live, you won't be able to find the chat window. It's part of the YouTube shell game, folks. Well, the sun has set, the day is done, and if you're feeling a bit tired and in search of a pick-me-up, might I recommend 2 or 3 repetitions of geriatric step-back squat thrusts before an image of a Buddha. It's what some people like to call enlightened fitness. May liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path through the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. May I liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path through the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. Okay. A on Reddit asked, this is a good question. Why is the ego considered something we should get rid of if most everyone naturally has it to begin with? Now, I'm going to just be a I'm going to be a rhetoric troll. Well, actually, all children are born with milk teeth, but they have to get rid of those too, don't they? So there's nothing wrong with asking what's wrong with ego, but your rationale is off. Just because everyone has it doesn't mean it's ideal. Or think of it this way. We're born screaming naked and covered in filth. Why should we ever get dressed or take a shower? So once again, it's lots of times people hide the truth. And instead of saying, getting rid of ego seems lame and it's inconvenient and it's kind of scary and I don't want to do it. Instead of saying that, we say, well, actually, it's not that I don't want to get rid of ego. It's not that I'm too lazy to get rid of ego. It's not that I'm too scared of getting rid of ego. It's not that I don't know how to get rid of ego. It's just that, yeah, that's it. I have an intellectual question. No, you don't. You're hiding behind an intellectual question. Or what you hope's an intellectual question, but it's not. Don't worry. We've all done that, including myself. We're all guilty of that. Think of it this way, folks. Have you ever met a 3-year-old who liked broccoli or zucchini? I still don't like zucchini. You know, and so often, what is it when faced with vegetables they do not like? What do many, what's the word I'm thinking of? Children do? They ask questions in an effort to control the parents and make them dance like a marionette upon the string. I think what I should do right now is put my phone on Don't Disturb. So here we go. Don't Disturb. Fabulous. Oy vey. Well, that was exciting. So often when a kid asks, well, why should I eat broccoli? They're good for you. Why is it good for you? You know, a kid trying to get out of something is a bottomless well of questions. They're not asking the questions because they sincerely are on a quest for knowledge. They're asking the questions in an effort to manipulate their parents. Now, if your kid is trying to manipulate you, they're not unusual. It's standard operating procedure. Doesn't make it healthy. Oh, here's another one. Just because children are manipulative doesn't mean it's a good thing when adults are manipulative. Ask 100,000 psychotherapists. They'll tell you. So let's continue. I think A has additional stuff to say. I realize a big part of meditation and other spiritual practices is to help loosen the grip of one's ego. One's ego is about as normal as being born with limbs, eyesight, etc. It's just a part of what humans are born with. If this was supposed to be removed, why would not the universe cause us to not have the ego to begin with? Aha! The old equating the universe with a... There's a wonderful word, I want to say beneficent, with a compassionate deity ploy. So let's explore that, shall we? Experts in human evolutionary biology, actually just across the board, experts in terrestrial evolutionary biology tell us that when life first began, the primary guiding force of evolution was reproduction, anything that supported reproduction. That's it. And to this day, once we get beyond the age of child rearing, it's like our body says, telomeres, We don't need no stinking telomeres. And no matter how well you exercise or how often you exercise, how well you eat, it's like your body just goes to hell in a handbasket. It's like, well, you're not reproducing anymore. Well, screw you. Make room for the next generation. So when it comes to evolution, when it comes to reproduction and natural selection, evolution is ruthless. And some of the most destructive human tendencies are just anchored into that ancient dopamine-oriented reward system. But we're more than just reptiles, bipedal reptiles flopping about the countryside. We're also mammals. And so we have extra parts in our brain that our reptile ancestors did not. We have a secondary, what's it called? Reward system that's oxytocin oriented. And it is in direct conflict with our dopamine oriented reward system. And that causes all sorts of interesting dilemmas in our species, in individuals, and in cultures. You name it, there are interesting problems because of that. There is no intelligence guiding evolution. It's a crapshot. There is basically just to use really broad brushstrokes, and somewhere a biology teacher is going to start weeping. But just to use broad brushstrokes, you have random mutation, DNA copying errors, and then you have our environment's response to those new traits. And if those new traits increase our chances of reproduction, then we'll probably pass on those traits. If we die before we reproduce, those traits don't get passed on. There's no intelligence about it. There's no choir of angels, at draftsman tables wearing, 19th century visors and what do you call those, sleeve garters, trying to calculate the finer points of evolution. It's just random slapdash. Now, there's all sorts of interesting variations on natural selection. There's the natural selection that has to do with geographical influences. There's all these compounding factors, but that's basically it. In the latter chapters of the novelization of Cosmos, Carl Sagan does a wonderful job of saying that there is no healthy way to excise the parts of the brain that are responsible for fear and greed and hate and irrationality. They are tied up to our most primary survival apparatus, so they can't be removed. That's just the sequence of evolution. So let's continue with our friend A. A then writes, "This is the dilemma I face when I hear so many in the spiritual communities talk about ego, something to be rid of. I'm now going to put on my Superman cape and my red boots and fly to A's defense, because in any spiritual community there is a wealth of shitheads performing shitheadery. They will treat ego anthropomorphically. Oh yeah, ego's going to plot and plan to undermine your spiritual activities, and they're going to treat it the way some Christian fundamentalists treat Satan. Oh, he's an adversary, come to cut you off at the knees. Oh, please don't. Don't make a boogeyman of your ego. And now that I've worked up quite a froth, let us look at my formal response. Is it missing? It looks like it's missing. Wow, that is really lame. Luckily, I keep records. So this is the 16th. Okay, ego, liberation, and meditation. So 16. So that should be the 10th. So quick like a bunny. I will look it up. Let's see here. I guess it's under articles. January 10th. There it is. Okay. So, quick like a bunny. I'm going back to OBS and I'm going to make an adjustment. Lesson. There we go. Now this is small print because, once again, sometimes I fall asleep literally in the middle of doing my paperwork. Not during class, but, you know, in preparation. So, okay, here we go. So I'm going to see if I can't make this more legible. Do you bear with me? Let's hit 36. That should do it. Okay, ego is not a Sanskrit nor a Pali word. It comes from the Greek and was popularized in the West by a Viennese physician more than 100 years ago. Though not directly mentioned by the Buddha. Whoopsie, look at that. Though not directly mentioned by the Buddha, its function is inferred by the second noble truth as that ancient survival mechanism which strives to use pushing, pulling, and clinging in service of our competitive reward system. And although it does not support reproduction, and although it does support reproduction and its prerequisites, in an irony worthy of O. Henry, and undermines the goals of the cooperative brain's counterpart. In the latter portion of Carl Sagan's Cosmos, its surgical excision, tough word to pronounce, is considered and rejected. Perhaps that is why the Buddha did not offer liberation from the mere presence of our primal drives, but rather from their tyranny. Practice the contemplations and meditations inferred by the fourth noble truth, and you too could meditate like a Jedi. Quick like a bunny, I'm going to cut and paste this into the original class notes because I've started to make that available for short-term download. I'm going to hit copy. Negative FIN, and here we go. Paste. All right. Before we start this evening's chanting and meditation, let's pause for approximately 45 seconds of housekeeping. Every 12 hours, I broadcast a live meditation class without any ads. This channel supported by the generosity of viewers just like you. With your help, this channel could come to support the next generation of nuns, monks, yogis, lamas, and even brick-and-mortar meditation centers, each replete with a resident teacher and their apprentice. If this speaks to you and you'd like to help out even for as little as the cost of 1 cup of coffee a month, no problem. Simply poke around the description area below the video. You'll find links, one for Patreon, one for PayPal. You'll find buttons, you'll find YouTube buttons, one to join, one for Super Chat. Click whichever one of those 4 floats your boat. I think it could be quite lovely if now we chanted 6 poems, or 6 stanzas, of my adaptation and amplification of the Padmakara group's translation of the Heart Treasure of the Enlightened Ones, the final meditation manual, dictated by Dzogchen Rinpoche, a great Tibetan yogi of the late 1800s. Not long ago, your consciousness was wandering alone, swept along by karma and took this present path. Soon, like a hair pulled out of butter, leaving everything behind, you could go on again alone. Of course, what we want is our own good, so we have to be honest with our own selves. If we do not accomplish the essence of the Dharma for our own sake, will we not be squandering our own life's opportunity? In this dark age, what people think and do is vile. Oopsie, let's fix this while we're at it. None of them will help you, they could deceive and trick you, and for you to be of any help to them will be hard. Could it not be best to quit the whole rat race? Though you serve your so-called superiors, they might never be pleased. Though you look after your so-called inferiors, they might never be satisfied. Though you care about others, they might not care about you. Think about it and make a firm decision. Being learned these days might not help the teachings, it could just lead to more debate. Being realized these days might not help others, it could just lead to more criticism. Being in a responsible position these days might not help govern the country well, it might only spread revolt. Think about these times with sorrow and disgust. Though you explain, people could miss the point or simply not believe you. Though your motivation is truly altruistic, people might think it is not. These days when the crooked see the straight is crooked, you might not be able to help anyone give up any hope of that. All right. Gee, Zapatrul, thank you for those cheery, happy words. But the point is, let us do what we do. The highest love is centered and spontaneous. It works not from agenda. If we chase agenda, we will forever have our heart crushed under the heel of happenstance's boot. But if we do what we do, if we do loving things from a place of centered spontaneity, we will be able to weather the slings and arrows of random assholes. I tap button 9 and it takes us to the latest, practice text. Unless you prefer Sanskrit, then you can call it a sadhana. Let us begin by selecting a loving motivation for meditation. May everyone be free from stress, may everyone be happy, may no one be separated from the happiness, may everyone have balance free from the tyranny of hating May everyone have balance from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging freed. I need to get an ice pack for my sinuses. I'll be right back. Oy vey, here we go. Oh boy. Okay, now I accidentally hit the table upon which the laptop is perched, so let's make sure I'm still in frame. May I liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path through relying on the moon as example, instructions, and students. May I liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path through relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. May I liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path through relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. We now come to the mantra contemplation portion. We divide it in half between love and letting go. When we work with love, we're going to play with intentions. But first, we're going to get used to the idea of mantra. Through the cause and effect of my practice of love and letting go, may each sentient being of each world know practice with me in unison. Oh, I invoke the Benza diamond-like strength of Vasato, mind well trained in love and letting go, supplicating with whom may love and letting go be mastered by all. So there's nothing, the meaning of this 6-syllable mantra contains nothing earth-shattering. But it does reveal the name of the yidam, or an archetype of enlightenment that we're going to play with. Diamond mind, known in Tibetan as Dorje Sempa, or in Sanskrit as Vajra Sattva, which is often pronounced in Tibetan as Benza Sato. So our job is neither to believe or disbelieve in a real or imagined celestial entity, but rather we simply use an enlightened archetype, such as Diamond Mind, as a way of organizing the iconography that will act as the palette upon which we paint the metaphors and similes that we will use, that are so very helpful for our mantra contemplations. Let's continue. As we chant the mantra, you can feel this diamond rays were emitting from a thumbnail-sized horizontal 6-syllable mantra rosary at our hearts, lavishing all minds, communication, bodies, and circumstances with wisdom, love, health, and good fortune, centered and spontaneous. Ooh, I lost an accent. Spontaneous. Okay. Oh, the joys of a double vowel, I'll tell you. I just want to make sure that the display is still in alignment. Okay, and we're off, and away we go. As mentioned a few moments ago, as we train in love, we train in intention. It's not our job to force ourselves to feel anything. It's not our job to visualize anything. But we can play with intentions that do have a positive effect on the neural pathways responsible for empathy. We can lovingly wish, through the cunning use of silent and mental recitation, we can wish, or at least intend, that all minds be as wise as the real or imagined mind of a Buddha, sometimes symbolized by a one-syllable mantra. let's take a moment to review Buddhist manifesting. We manifest not for one individual, but for all individuals, not with hyperspecificity, but with generalization. You know, the 4 generalizations we play with would be wishing for wisdom and love and health and good fortune for our minds and relationships and bodies and circumstances. The Buddha referred to that as the 4 bases of mindfulness. We're going to blend our intention with, we're going to silently and mentally recite the intention during our inhalation. During our exhalation, we're going to do 2 things. As we whisper the mantra, we're going to physically relax as best we can. Let us lovingly wish that all communication and its interpersonal consequences be as loving as a real or imagined Buddha's capacity to communicate, which is often symbolized by their mantra, sometimes arranged in a circle. So, as I mentioned previously, this is a photograph of a statue of Diamond Mind, mother and father, sitting in tantric union. And this is simply a principle that helps us to organize the iconography upon which our similes and metaphors are built. So let us lovingly wish that all bodies now possess the health, demonstrate in the artwork representing the enlightened archetype of Diamond Mind. Well, you know what? I think I cheated us. Let's do a little bit more of this. Now we get to skedaddle over to health. Boy, this is sure is wobbly tonight. What's going on here? What's going on? Okay, that's better. Let us lovingly wish that all circumstances enjoy the good fortune depicted in artists' representations of the enlightened archetype's paradise, which is also known as a Pure Land or a Vati. Whoops, I did it again. Here we go. Having finished with the love mantras, now we're going to work with letting go. So we're going to begin by reviewing the basic explanation of emptiness. Not as something literal, but as something figurative. May I let go of all circumstances, bodies, communication, and minds, as if they were as non-graspable as a vastum divine. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although tantalizing to the eye could be non-graspable to the hand. Let's look at this a little more carefully. Lots of people take a literalist view of emptiness, and then they squander decades doing all sorts of pseudo-intellectual mental gymnastics, trying to justify it. The question is not whether or not things exist. The question is, do we notice things in our lives, and are we good at letting go of them after we notice them? We're wired to notice during every inhalation, and we're wired to let go during every exhalation. Letting go doesn't mean we don't think something exists anymore. We're just taking a break from our primal drives that have us forever shoving or reaching or clinging, just adding fuel to the fires of our neurosis. That's all. We're just striving to live in harmony with our neurology. So we're going to play with 8 contemplations. The first 4 with a mantra, the second 4 without a mantra. All eight contemplations are going to involve, are formatted as rhetorical questions. How is it that as we inhale, we are able to visually perceive our circumstances, and yet, on some level, as we physically relax into each exhalation, these exact same circumstances could begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable as an archetype of enlightenment's real or imaginary paradise comprised only of light. So you might say, this is diamond. Well, diamond is short for diamond mind, and that is the enlightenment archetype we're playing with. There's a possessive S here. Well, that refers to diamond mind's lot or circumstance. Why is it that as we inhale, we can sensually perceive our bodies, and yet, as we physically relax in harmony with our exhalation, these exact same bodies, be they ugly or beautiful, healthy or ill, could begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable as the artist's, or as a Buddha's real or imagined body comprised only of light. Why is it that as we inhale, we could auditorily perceive our communications and their interpersonal consequences, and yet, as we physically relax into each exhalation, this exact same communication and its interpersonal consequences could feel as if they were as non-graspable as a Buddha's mantra, real or imagined, comprised only of light. There was in ancient India a Buddhist philosopher known as Nagarjuna. His philosophy of the middle way is translated from the Sanskrit as Madhyamaka. A big feature of that was the two truths. And so tonight we've explored how circumstances can be appearing yet void. Those are the two truths. The truth of mindfulness and the truth of meditation. The truth of perception and the truth of letting go. And we looked at how bodies could be sensual yet void, and how communication could be resounding yet void. And now we're coming to mind, and it can be clear yet void. Where is the cursor? Why is it that as we inhale, we can clearly observe mind's functions of perception, emotion, intention, reason, recall, and imagination? And yet, when we physically relax in harmony with our exhalation, mind's attributes begin to feel as if they were, mind's attributes, whether they are dull or sharp, wise or foolish, could feel as if they were as non-graspable as the mind of a Buddha's archetype, symbolized as a syllable comprised only of light. Our loving recitations were our attempt to practice the second fold of the Eightfold Path. This wisdom of letting go oriented exercises are our efforts to practice the first fold of the Eightfold Path. As promised, having completed our 8th set of mantra exercises, it's now time for the post-mantra contemplations. Let's use melting as a metaphor of impermanence to help us to better leapfrog over the tyranny of clinging tendencies in our lives. Let us also play with absorption as a metaphor of interdependence to help us to better leapfrog over the tyranny of competitive tendencies in our lives. How could all places... Now remember, we're still dealing with rhetorical questions. How could all places blissfully melt into rainbow light that absorbs into this body? This is known as the yoga of inconceivability. Remember, these are rhetorical questions. Our job is not to answer them. Our job is to silently and mentally recite them in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation and our relaxation. How could all bodies blissfully melt into rainbow light that absorbs into this speech? How could all speech blissfully melt into rainbow light that absorbs into this mind? How could all minds blissfully melt into a rainbow light that absorbs into infinite emptiness? We come to our first of 2 silent meditations. Let us begin by relaxing into the nature of pleasurable sensations. What if we could what if mindfulness was as simple as silently and mentally reciting, feeling this during each inhalation? And what if meditation was as easy as silently and mentally reciting, relaxing, in harmony with each exhalation? But why would we do that? With every inhalation, we access our sympathetic nervous system that supports the sensory acuity that makes possible perception. Perception of the external and internal, physical and mental, pleasurable and painful, interesting and boring, glorious and grotesque. When we allow our body to perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and spontaneously, we could find that the only label we need ever use is the pronoun this. But whatever are we to do with all that we notice? During every exhalation, we access our parasympathetic nervous system, which supports both our physical relaxation as well as our mental release. Think of it as our built-in therapist. As we meditate this evening, we could find ourselves releasing our habitual resistance to the presence of things we hate. We could find ourselves releasing our habitual resistance to the absence of things we crave. We could find ourselves releasing our resistance to the loss of that to which we cling. So we crave that which we do not possess. We cling to that which we do possess, regardless of how temporarily that case may be. Sorry guys, my health is not great tonight. It's going to have to be a very short meditation. May all beings have the wisdom, health, love, and boon of Diamond Mind's mythical body, speech, form, and lots. May all beings like Diamond Mind Master, being flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, cooperative, and kind. May all beings practice of kind communication, conduct, and commerce flow spontaneous and uncontrived. May all beings like Diamond Mind master the Eightfold Path as well as liberate all others. May each being take auspicious rebirth, master the Buddha's path, and then help all others do likewise. At this very moment, for the peoples and the nations of the earth, may not even the names disease, famine, war, or suffering be heard. Rather may their conduct, merit, wealth, and prosperity increase. And may supreme good fortune and well-being always arise for them. Beginning with Kuntu Zangpo and Great Dorje Chang down to Mayung Kindness Lama. Whatever aspirations they have made to benefit beings, may I accomplish them all. Approximately 11 hours, we could return to explore Shantideva's prayer of selfless love. It's not much a prayer to a deity as it is a way of giving voice to our higher aspirations of love. Until then, may you and yours be happy and healthy. And if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.